Hey everybody, this is Adrian Mena with Unmasking with NESDA. If you haven't heard about Anchor, it's the easiest way to make a podcast. Let me explain what that is. First of all, it's free. Who doesn't want that? There's creation tools that allow you to record and edit your podcast right from your phone or your computer. On top of that, Anchor will distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many more. How cool is that? And not only that, you can make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. How amazing is that? It's everything you need to make a podcast in one place. So download the free Anchor app or go to anchor.fm to get started. All right, we are on. Got the recording?
Wait, the recording's on it. And
just SD, no live. Welcome, everybody. We are back with another episode of Unmasking with NESDA. In fact, before we really get a chance to kick off the season and get a lot our guests on and our interviews on, I think it's important that people understand what the show is about and who I am, who will probably be doing the majority, if not all the interviews. My name is Adrian Mena, and like I said, this is Unmasking with NESDA. This show is really about bringing people on, sharing their testimonies of Jesus Christ, sharing their walk in life, where they're at. And it could also possibly even be perhaps a stumble that they've had, or maybe stories of doubt, stories of curiosity. It could, this isn't necessarily a show that is going to exclude a lot of people. In fact, it's hopefully to include more people of different walks of life, different faiths, and just to kind of give their testimony out in this COVID-19 quarantine era right now, in hopes that again, share these testimonies. They can touch people and they can uplift people and hopefully put them in the right direction in life. And as a interviewer, I am being asked to be interviewed today by none other than Pastor Eliab Quinones.
So, y'all.
Welcome aboard, sir.
Hey, man, I'm happy to be here.
Glad you're here.
Yeah, man. As people hear you speak and as you interview people, we can actually figure out who you are, and we ask you the question, how are you unmasking with NESDA audio?
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
I get unmasked.
Unmasked.
My turn.
I'm down for this, man. This is going to be cool. All right, so the first most important question that I will ever have to ask you.
Yeah.
Tortillas de harina or maíz? Go.
Harina.
Why?
Because my grandmother used to make them. And I've eaten many of them my entire life, but when they are grandma's homemade originals,
God have mercy.
Rolling them with a masa and then you turning them and then putting that baking powder in,
Go ahead.
Nice and thick. It's
ahead.
not this
like
Walmart home style stuff. Nah.
Okay, you can't be down on that, because when you put some cheese in there and some chicken, that makes a fire quesadilla.
Well, cheese and chicken make everything good.
Okay.
But yeah, something about my grandmother's tortillas. That's why, and not to exclude maíz. I love maíz too, especially on tacos, little taquitos. But oh man, those tortillas, that was heaven. That was manna.
All right, then for everyone who's listening and they only like corn tortillas, don't just stop the podcast. Keep listening, okay? We're gonna get into it.
Don't kiss me out.
All right, here we go. All right then. So Adrian, as I'm gonna begin to interview, like, you're gonna be asking a bunch of different people these questions, and like having them like reveal to them their true self, like, regardless of where they're coming from, and just talking about their own spiritual journey, and just like who was I before COVID, like who am I right now? Like, I want to ask you this question. Like, what was your upbringing as like a kid in terms with God? Like, what was your upbringing in terms with God?
Growing up, I grew up Catholic, and the main thing that I always remember was going to catechism. That's what my mother put me in, and that's where it all kind of started. Now, being a little kid, I was very hyper, ultra hyper, and I still kind of am to this day. But I couldn't stop moving. I was always distracted, and I used to get in trouble a lot. And oh man, the stories I could tell you. But
amen.
But that was the upbringing, and then I grew up in a community, a family where, you know, it was a lot of grandparents around, older crowd where I lived. While there was a lot of young kids, you know, moms and dads were working. Kids would go to school, but grandparents would pick them up. We'd ride the bus. We'd get home.
Yeah.
You know, for me, going through to that church for me was a blessing, because really the main person that I remember being who had a really good relationship with God was my grandmother. She,
Harina. Yeah.
And well, because I would see it in her every single day. To me, I saw light in her every day. She, you know, I always know she would always read her Bible every day. You know, for as long as she lived, I want to say she might have read it through maybe 8 to 10 times, cover to cover. It was daily. It was nightly. She would read it all the time. Afternoons, it didn't matter. And so with her, everything was always God first. You know, whenever I left the house, you know, vaya con Dios, mijo, que Dios lo cuide, mijo. Gracias a Dios, mijo. Anytime she communicated with people, family, friends, primero Dios, mijo. It was always that. It was always God first. And that's how a lot of the area that I grew up in was. And it was always God first.
It was just life.
Yeah, that was life.
Culture.
You know, the culture around, and you know, with family, growing up, it was unique. And but for me, the real relationship with God didn't begin until in Catholic school. You have confirmation classes, kind of like when you're a teenager, and it wasn't really until then where I kind of started paying more attention to who is God, what's he all about. And I had a ton of questions, you know, and you know, and a lot of the other kids in that class did. Our teacher was Mr. Valdez. The only thing he and I could agree on, that Jesus was coming. That was it.
Really?
Yeah. He would always tell me, Jesus is coming, Adrian, you better be ready. And I was like, okay, all right, I can ride with that, you know. I mean, and that's all I've ever known, you know, up until that age. And from that point, that, like I said, that's when I really started to pay attention the most.
So like as like you had like experience with God, like did you ever draw away from God, or you know, if you did, like why did you draw away from God?
Yeah, it wasn't until, well, towards my end of my confirmation, you know, we after that, it's pretty much boom, you're on your own, really.
Okay.
You know, there was a conversation that I had with my mother not too long after I got confirmed, and it was, well, you know, I presented you to God, and the rest is up to you. And that was it.
That's pretty cool.
I was like, all right, you know, and
that's what's up.
But, you know, being a young man and going into college, you know, I went to UTEP and graduated from there. But that's kind of where the real
test began.
Yeah, the test began. I went through some really major obstacles, a lot of heavy duty stuff, really between, I would say, my senior year in high school up until I was about 22, roughly, if you will. Yeah. You know, I had some good moments in my life, but I really started to get knee deep in some rough situations. I wasn't taking school as seriously as much as I should. I was, you know, questioning a lot of things. Like I had anthropology class, I had geology classes, right? And then, you know, they talk about evolution and stuff like that. And then there was always that thing in my head, like, how does this connect with God? Because Bible says he created the world in 6 days, evening, sunset, this and that. And it's like, I don't get it. Yeah, I didn't get anything. Yeah. You know, and honestly, in confirmation class, we don't go through the Bible like we do here in Adventist church. It was just a couple here and there. I mean, I'll tell you this much, for prophecy, they showed us Nostradamus.
That's cool. Yeah.
They showed us Nostradamus, and I was like,
what's up?
Okay.
Hey.
All right.
To be completely honest to everyone in the crowd, I have no idea what that is, but keep going. Like, keep going.
He was supposedly this guy who could tell the future. You go look him up.
Oh, that's a person?
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about like an object or something, like a compass or something.
No.
I had no idea what you were talking about, bro. Nothing, bro. Nothing.
No, you never heard of Nostradamus?
Not a single clue.
Look it up. He's supposedly a guy could tell the future. He predicted this, that. But I mean, there was a lot of things that were not. Anyway,
sorry.
That's neither here nor there. But yeah, that's what they showed us. They didn't show me Daniel. They didn't show me Isaiah. They didn't show me Jeremiah. They didn't show me the minor prophets. They didn't explain Genesis the way our church here does. And it was always confusing. And that's in fact one of the questions we always had. Like, we always asked, well, what about evolution? What about this? And we asked, like, well, what's the Sabbath? Like, what's that?
They hit you with Jesus coming soon.
Yeah, and he was always like, Jesus coming soon. And you know what? To his credit, he was such a nice man. To his credit, he was right. Hey, we do need to be ready.
That's a good point.
And I always agreed with that point. And, and it always dawned on me. And then as I was going through these classes, there was always, and I was getting, like I said, I was up to no good. I was, womanizing. I was drinking a ton of alcohol. I was a bad smoker. I wasn't in the shape that you see now. No.
I don't think I could believe that.
Trust me. Well, when in high school, I was in pretty good shape. I played ball, but I was a lot thinner back then. Then again, everybody was. No, I went through some really dark times, a lot of dark moments with people, and and it didn't end there. I did eventually, kind of got out of it thinking I could do it on my own terms, but I wasn't much of a prayerful person.
Well, before you go there, I'm just kind of curious, like, you said you described it like a dark. What was the darkness like? For you.
Sometimes you see these things that it's kind of like how I've told some people, like, sometimes you fall into the ground, right? You get knocked down and you feel like you get tossed into a pit. Get buried underneath it, and it feels like there's nothing but darkness and there's no hope. There's no escape. But when you look at it in a worldly view without God, that's exactly how it is. And you could motivate yourself, listen to all these people to pump you up, but ultimately it's you that's got to make the decision to get yourself out of these things.
Yeah.
And when there's darkness, it's like I said, it's you don't see anything and you're frightened.
Yeah.
You're frightened inside and you don't want to admit it, but at the same time, I always look back and always ask myself, well, maybe I wasn't really thrown into a pit. Maybe I was planted.
Oh.
Maybe.
Oh, shoot.
Maybe I needed to be planted, and maybe I needed to be well grounded to know where I need to go.
That's deep.
It was, maybe God planted me there, or maybe I did it to myself. Yeah. I would argue that I did it to myself. I don't think he would purposely do it, but he allowed. There's choices, like, okay, but it's up, but you're not going to do this on your own.
Yeah.
And like I said, God was always in the back. I always not acknowledged him, but I never allowed him to come into my life.
So you were like a fan, not a follower.
I was a fan. And, so I wasn't really thinking about him much, but I always had conversations. I would, in order to get myself out of these troubles, I would jog a lot. I would try to work out. I started to train back again.
Yeah.
And, but every time after I worked out or I did a run, I'd always take an extra walk, a mile or two, and then I always talk to God.
Is that kind of how you find your way out of the darkness?
Kind of, sort of. And that's, I guess you could say that was a stepping stone, because like I said, when you get planted, you need to add what? You need to add water. You need, who's the living water? It's Jesus. You need to start adding things to your life that are meaningful, like God.
So what else did you add to get out of the darkness?
Well, I met my wife too.
Amen. I hope she's watching. Yes.
Yeah.
Brownie points.
Yes, I met her. And it's funny because she was kind of in the same boat as I was, maybe not as bad as I was, but you know, she grew up in the Adventist church. I did, and when she first told me what that was, I was like, "What's that?
That's a cult.
What is that?" Well, I hadn't even heard of it. I was like,
"Oh, okay."
Like,
so it's like an imaginary friend.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Like, oh, okay, well, that's cool, whatever. Sure, why not? You know, we were both believers, but not how we are now. A lot's changed since.
You know, just FYI for everyone watching, Adventists are not a cult. I just want to make that clarification real quick because some people might be just like tune into just that part and to be like, "Oh, Adventist cult, bad, go run."
Oh, I know, yeah, take off running.
Just for those who are watching, it's not a cult. All right, keep going.
Yeah, and then well, I met her, and then you know, we got together and we started dating, and then you know, like I said, we weren't like I wasn't even going to church at the Catholic church, and she wasn't coming to you know, the Adventist church at the time. So, but we loved each other, and you know, I really think that God put us together some way and helped us to find our grounding. And again, you know, we went through our obstacles together. You know, you get to know somebody, you know, someone you love, you get to know everything about them, the good, the bad, the ugly, everything. Yeah. And you know, you take it all in. You become one, and you share each other's burdens. And
so it's like you can't just take the good. It's like it comes in one package.
Yeah, you take the family too and everything. Like that's it. You know,
in-laws.
You gotta take them. Yeah. You know, whether you love them or they drive you nuts.
So then, like, as you were like, your wife is one way that you found out of darkness. Then, like, you know, like, tell me, like, when did, like, when was the moment? Like, of course, because, like, maybe for some people who are watching, like, they can care less about God, you know, and that's their own personal opinion. I respect it, you know. But for you, you know, in your path and the life that you're walking, like, you believe in God.
Yes.
You know, and I also respect your opinion. So then. But like before you like become the person you are today, when was the moment that you realized that you needed Christ in your life? Like when was that moment?
You know, it was several years later. I want to say, I'm 39 now.
Yeah.
By the way,
that's
I don't
old.
Look that old. Shut up.
That's old, man.
Whatever, bro.
That's super old.
Anyway,
it's pastor, by the way.
Get out of here. Get out of here. Get out of here, pastor, bro. Whatever. Calling me old. You'll get there.
No, I'm not.
You'll get there.
I got a long way to go, brother.
It'll come sooner than you think.
By the time I get there, you're going to be a granddad. You know that probably?
You know what? I'm still going to be more built than you, so let it go. Anyway, he's got to work out with me, guys.
No, not a chance. I'm not going to kill myself for that. For what? For what? What would be the purpose of killing myself for a date? To prove my pride? Brother, I got no pride, bro. Okay, keep going. So
I will. Yeah.
When was the moment?
It was, I want to say several years later. Because we started going, you know, to a church, going to prophecy seminars and all that.
Okay.
You know, we did all that, and you know, we never got Bible studies. We were never given those.
That's
we
cool.
just went through the prophecy seminars.
That's super interesting.
Yeah, and we got to learn. And honestly, when we started going to those, that's when it's like, that makes sense. These are questions I had when I was a teenager in those confirmation classes. And this, because I did go to other churches with other friends, you know, throughout the years, and like just to say, okay, what's this about? All right, okay. But this church was like, answered every single question that I had and more.
That's interesting.
And for me, it was like, oh, so that's what the dragon is. That's what a beast is. That's what, Revelation, like it all came clear. It all came clear, even the book of Daniel and Isaiah and all that. And
Those
I was
are
like,
confusing books.
They are. I mean, it's intense study. It's intense study. You really got to put the work into it, but it made sense, you know? And it was like one night, like, you know, my wife and I were out. Like I said, we were still kind of learning about the church. And, you know, that night, you know, again, I wasn't like, you could say that I was learning about the church and all that. And, but I still didn't fully understand everything. And it wasn't until, you know, one night I had like a really bad night of drinking. It was pretty bad. And, the next day I remember my wife telling me that, like, I see, cause I don't remember, you know, it was pretty bad, that I scared my daughter. I don't know what I said to her, yelled at her or whatever, or something like that. And you know, I felt terrible. I felt terrible. And I couldn't believe like I made her feel that way. And, you know, she was just a little girl, maybe 3, 4, 5 at the time. And I don't know what hit me a few days later. Like, and you know, my mother-in-law was taking my oldest two at the time to church, here to the church. And I don't know what clicked, but I was just driving one night. I think maybe we went out to dinner or something like that, or go hang out with some friends. And I remember driving. It was going up Vista del Sol toward the highway here and home. And I was just thinking, because I was just thinking for days. Like my head was just like, what's going on with me? Who am I? You know, and that's where the unmasking started to really show up for me. Like, who am I and where am I going? Oh man, that's powerful. And it's like, you know, yeah, I'm studying about this church and the Bible, but I'm still doing all these other things. And it's like, I feel like I'm being ripped apart, and I'm just not doing anything about it. I'm just being stuck in the middle, and I'm stuck in a rut. And, you know, I didn't like who I was becoming. I didn't like that I was kind of like doing, you know, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And I was like, nah, I cannot serve God this way. I can't be a husband this way. I can't be a father this way, a friend or brother or son or anything like that. So for me, it was just, you know what, I need to make a change. And I remember driving, and I told my wife, and I was just staring at the lights, we need to go back to church. And she was all like, what? Like, yeah. Because our kids were coming, right? And I was like, no, we need to go. I don't know what it was. Something hit me. It's like, no, we need to go. I don't know what it was. And we had actually had gotten baptized before, prior to this, a few years before. And like I said, like I was just fighting my own demons still, and this and that. And when we started to go to come back to our church, you know, our kids were coming. So all right, let's do it for our kids at the very least. But something hit me that I had to come back. And I had never read my whole Bible until shortly after that. About a month later, I read it in about 3 months, 4 months.
Going in.
I went all in. And all I said to God was like, Lord, just speak to me. I'm going to read it. I'm going to go cover to cover. I went from Genesis all the way to Revelation. I even read the index. I was like, just lead me in the way I got to go. Yeah. I don't want to read this as a Catholic. I don't want to read this as an Adventist or whatever religion out there. I just want to read this as a relationship with you. You tell me what I got to do, Lord, and just guide me in the way I should go. Yeah. And that's when it hit me, and been here ever since.
Hey, man. Yeah, that's a story. That's your story.
Yeah.
And ain't nobody can argue with that, man. No. That's really what's up. I hope those who are listening, like as they hear you, you know, asking people these questions, like, you know, they can understand that you're asking these questions because you've been there in a sense. Yeah. You can't experience every other person's story, you know, but with your story, you can empathize with others.
Absolutely. And I like I say, I've been down that dark road where I felt like an agnostic, an evolutionist, a non-believer even at times. And I've, you know, for those listening, or I can understand. Yeah. You know, and there's a reason why you feel or believe what you believe.
So then with your journey and everything, like why did you want to start this podcast? Like why NESDA Audio? Like
why NESDA? You know,
Unmasking with NESDA.
Yeah, and that's the beauty of it, because that's when I started to be more involved with this church. Within that year, I was made a deacon. That one year, I was made a Sabbath school teacher for the teenagers. And I was the tech guy. You know, I ran a much older system, believe it or not, which was way more frightening to deal with than that one. That's how I kind of started, right? And then, but really it picked up in the Sabbath school. I talked to the teenagers, right? It was mostly boys. You know, we get a few guests here and there. We don't really have that at the time. That group there wasn't too many females coming in and out. So sometimes I come in and, you know, I'd go over the lesson with them, and I just kind of look at them, and it was like I'm hearing crickets, or I just kind of see them going through the motions of things. And it's not to say that they weren't good dudes or anything like that. They're good kids. It's just like, you know what, this here, it's not bad. It's not terrible, but it's just not connecting. There's something that's just not engaging about this. Now, I'm a teacher, and I can go and make this kinesthetic and give you visuals and all that. But the truth is that, you know, it's probably still not going to get them, because it's still the same story they hear over and over again. And so I thought to myself, it's like, you know what? It was like one day, it's like, all right, guys, what's on your mind? What's going on? Talk to me. Just be real with me. What's up with school? Do you have girl issues? Or is there somebody messing with you at school? Does life suck right now? Just talk to me. And that's kind of how it all started. You know, we started talking about whatever it is, what was on their mind. Yeah. They needed just someone to talk to. You know, they needed someone to just listen.
To unmask with,
yes. And just to reveal what they're truly feeling, how they feel about certain things like politics in the world today, healthcare, you know, status at school, and you know, all kinds of stuff, girls, boys, whatever. And that's when it started to hit me, like, they need to get these stories out. They have good stories. They have good, deep, meaningful stories. And me being an educator, I'm going on my 15th year, you know, I've taught kids, and it's like sometimes, you know, kids go through a lot of stuff. You know, we've been there. You know, we've experienced many things. And, you know, at times it's like the kids, they can't always connect with who they're with or who they're around. And sometimes they're just afraid to get their story out. But when it was just us in that Sabbath school room, they were able to just get things off their chest, I think.
When it's just another guy across the table or another girl across the table, they can just tell
it's just me and you. All right. Yeah, there's cameras and all that, but just focus on you and your story.
Let's talk about it.
And it was nice, because we talked, and you know, for a while there, we started to get a little bit more. They were more consistent about coming.
Oh, for the little group that
little group that we had. And of course, there were times where it was like, all right, it was just, you know, Zach, chilling there,
passing out,
working. Oh, yeah. You know, that boy works hard in school.
My man passed out during the sermons. It don't matter where he's at. He can pass out anywhere.
Zach can sleep anywhere.
I need that gift. I need
it too.
Like, I need that gift. Like, I tell people, there's no better place to pass out other than a pew. Like, that's the most amazing place ever.
It is, and he does it well. And poor guy, and he would study his lesson and everything.
He's a mathematician.
He's a mathematician. He puts in the work.
He does.
So I can imagine how exhausted he is. And it's like, like, you know what, Zach, go ahead, close your eyes, man. It's cool.
Welcome to Sabbath.
Yeah, exactly. You're fine, bro. You need to recover.
And he like fights it, like trying to stay awake.
He fights it. No. We need to finish this. Like, slow down, dude.
It's okay. And he's like, are you sure? Oh, okay.
And he's like, I'll tell you if your mom's coming. Relax. I know she'd probably pull him by the ear or something like that. Yeah. But no, that's where the idea dawned on me. Like, I should start a podcast with these guys. And that's kind of where I guess the seed was planted. Yeah. And this was maybe about 2-3 years ago.
And look where we're at now. Yeah. So then, like, it's like wrapping up with this little entry that we have. Like, what are the mission orders, or what's the goal, man? As people are listening to this and they hear different people's stories, what do you want them to be? What do you want them to take away from? Like, what take away?
I want them to know that they're not alone out there. That there is somebody listening out there to them. And oftentimes, life moves fast. And it can be relentless, and it can be tough, and sometimes not everybody gets heard, and it's because sometimes we're not willing to stop and listen. Oof. And because of that, I want all these youth, these young adults, teenagers, whoever comes on here to share that story, and I want people to be able to connect with them, and more importantly, I want them to know that I'm listening and that I believe my church is listening. I believe that if there's whatever it is you're going through, whether you're a part of this church or not, or whatever you're going through in life, we're here for you. Whether it's tending to spiritual needs, emotional needs, physical needs,
Yeah.
whatever it may be. You know, if you just want someone to talk to, we're here. I'm here. And I want to get your story out because I guarantee you, and I tell all these kids too that come on, it's like, trust me, you're not the only one going through this. There's people out there going through similar things as you are, or maybe they can listen. And then maybe, just maybe, we can touch some hearts out there, and maybe they can turn their life around to something better, and hopefully it could lead to back to Christ. But if at the very least, at least try to help them out in any way we can, and show that light no matter what. Show them the truth, and just let them make a choice.
Make them make their own decision.
Yeah,
that's fire. So then to end, last question, may seem a little random, but I'm just curious. What happens when you come across doubters, trolls, or keyboard warriors? what?
Oh, man. You know, I like social media, but I also hate it. You know, no matter what you say, no matter what you post, you know, there's always going to be someone out there nitpicking at your post or your picture, saying this, saying that. They're, you know, like I said, I call them keyboard warriors because they're good behind their phone clicking it, but when you come face to face, it's a different story. When you put those words into action,
oh my goodness,
that's a different story.
You know, as a pastor, I've never experienced that, you know, because my life is holy. Amen. Right, amen. All right.
No, but you know, honestly, it's, if anything, I would say to those people, come on. Those doubters, those trolls, those keyboard warriors, why don't you come on sometimes? Let's talk. You know, I'm not here to debate you. I'm not here to fight you or argue with you, but I want you to share your story. Why is it that you believe that? Why do you feel that way? Let me have a conversation. Let me give you a chance to share your story
on a platform
that people can hear, and we can have a civil conversation. Yeah. And what's going on with your life. Yeah. And obviously this show, Unmasking with NESDA, it is God-centered. You know, it all starts with him, you know, and I'm always going to bring it back to that at some point or throughout the conversation. And again, if that's something that these people don't agree with or feel that way, that's fine. You know, we can still be respectful. We can still be kind, and we can still get your viewpoint out, and you know, we'll let people, you know, make their own, like I said, make their own decisions. And
we're not here to create robots, man.
No, exactly. You know, everybody's unique and everyone's special. And because of that, because people are so unique, which is why it's so important for people not to be lost, because there's only going to be only one you ever in this universe. God made you, and that's that. There's not going to be another Pastor Eliab Quinones. Yeah. There's not going to be another Eliab. There's not going to be another Adrian Mena. That's it. And if you go by the wayside and you fall off a path and you go in a direction that's not leading you back to God, then that's it. Yeah. And there's people out there that love you. They care about you. And like I said, and that's why it's so important. That's why, you know, he died on the cross for us, because he loves us that much, because there's only one of you.
That's powerful.
And that matters to me.
Oh man, I respect you and your viewpoint, and a lot of things I agree with. I know there's gonna be people who come up in here and they may not. Yeah. That's all right, man. We're called to just have conversations with people. And and I'm really excited to see who's going to come on here and what their viewpoint, and as they begin to unmask. This is not a political thing where we're saying don't wear a mask, you know. Yeah. Do whatever your heart desires.
Yeah, honestly, that's on you, yeah.
I'm not going to tell you what you should and shouldn't do, you know, whatever you think. But, like, you know, too many times we have these things that cover our true self, you know. And I feel like it's about time that we begin to reveal who we are, you know. And if by doing so we see our flaws, good. And if by doing so we see good qualities, great. Good. Absolutely. But the key thing is that we unveil our true character, you know, and from there decide what we want to do. Whether that is to choose that there is a God, or to choose that there isn't, or to choose agnostic, or whatever you want. You know, I'm not here to change your heart, or you're not here to change your heart. But I'm excited, Adrian. I'm really cool to just interview and to ask you these questions as you begin to ask other people these questions, you know. And we'll see how the season goes, man. I'll be listening the whole way through. Adrian, thanks for letting me interview you, and thanks for letting me be on NESDA, Unmasking with NESDA.
Let it roll off the tongue.
So many people are going to be looking at that name and be like,
NESDA.
NESDA?
NESDA? NESDA?
You know, I don't
¿Qué es
know.
eso? What is that?
Maybe try in different accents. But Unmasking with NESDA. I'm really excited, man.
Me too, brother.
I can't wait, bro.
All right. See you guys.
Deuces.